This video will be a note-for-note analysis of the guitar and bass parts that are present during the secondary bridge or the solo of the song. A tab sheet of each respective part will briefly be displayed at the end of its analysis. A brief demo of all parts combined will be featured at the end of the video. The tuning used in this video and on the record is standard E and 440 wavelength calibration. The bridge is going to be 8 measures long. We're going to start out the first measure playing 16th notes. The first 4 will be counted 1 eanda. We'll use alternate picking as we do this. On 1, we're going to pick the open G string downwards. On the E beat, the first finger is going to go to the 2nd fret of that string. We'll pick that upwards. On the AND beat, the 3rd finger goes to the 4th fret on that string. We pick that down. And to close out the first quarter of that measure, the A beat, we're going to go with that middle finger to the B string on the 3rd fret and pick that upwards. This is what the first 4 notes sound like. 20 eanda. Okay, the next 4 notes are also 16th notes, counted 2 eanda. On 2, we're going to go with that 3rd finger to the 4th fret on the G string and pick it down. On the E beat, we're going to go to the 1st finger on that same string to the 2nd fret, pick it up. On the AND beat, we pick the open G string downwards. And to close the 2nd quarter of the measure, we're going to go back to the 1st finger on that same string to 2nd fret, pick it up on the A beat. The last 4 16th notes sound like this. 2 eanda. With the 4 count lead in, here's what the first half of the measure sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 eanda, 2 eanda. Okay, now we've reached 3. We're going to play 4 more 16th notes, counted 3 eanda. We're going to shift our hand position up a half a step in pitch. We'll place the 1st finger on the D string at the 3rd fret. We're going to pick this down. On the E beat, we're going to place that 3rd finger on the G string at the 4th fret and pick down again. Okay, this is a sweeping picking motion where we're picking 2 or 3 strings in one continuous sweep. And notice when we do this, the 1st finger stays locked on the 3rd fret of the D string. Okay, on the AND beat, we're going to continue that downward sweep to the middle finger on the B string at the 3rd fret. Okay? And what we're going to do to finish up the 3rd quarter is pick upwards on the G string. Here's what the last 4 16th notes sound like. 3 eanda. With the 4 count lead in, here's what the first 3 quarters of the measure sounds like so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda. Okay, now what we're going to do is let those notes ring out through 4. And we'll finish up the measure by playing this chord twice with upward picking motion. On the E beat right after 4, we're going to pick it up and let it sustain out as an 8th note. And on the A beat, the final 16th note of the measure, we'll pick that chord upwards again. So with a 4 count lead in, here's what the entire first measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda, E. And now we have reached the 2nd measure. We're going to begin by placing the middle finger on the D string at the 2nd fret. And we're going to pick this down on 1. Okay, it's going to ring out as a 16th note. On the E beat right after that, the next 16th note, we're going to pick the open G string down, okay, in a sweeping picking motion. We're going to continue that picking motion with that downward sweep to the B string. And right there, we're going to place the 1st finger on the 1st fret. Okay, we're going to let these notes ring together just like this. 1 eanda. Now on the 2nd quarter of the measure, we're going to do exactly the opposite. We're going to play those same notes, but we're going to sweep upwards this time. Count it 2 2 So here's what we have so far. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 2 Okay, on 3, we're going to place the first finger on the D string at the first fret. We're going to pick that down. We're going to sweep to the G string, pick that open. Okay, that's on the E beat. On the N beat, we're going to place the middle finger on the B string at the first fret, and we're going to pick that down, and as we pick it, we're going to slide quickly up to the 3rd fret. And once we get there, we're going to pick that again upwards on the beat to complete the 3rd quarter. So these last 4 16th notes are going to sound like this. 3 and So here's what we have so far with the 4 count lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E, 2 E, 3 E, Okay, now that last note, we're going to let it ring out through 4. So what we're going to do is I'm not going to count 4 in the count because it makes it a little more difficult here. On the beat after 4, the 16th note beat, the E beat, we're going to go with that first finger to the B string on the 1st fret. We're going to pick this up. And we're going to complete this measure by doing 2 30-second notes. I'm going to count them and pick up. Okay, and that will be with the first finger on the G string at the 1st fret, hammering onto the same string at the 2nd fret with that middle finger, like this. Okay, these last 3 notes. So with the 4 count lead in, here's what the second measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E, 2 E, 3 E, Let's run through the first 2 measures in sequence just one time. I'm not going to count these aloud as I play. I'll just give you the 4 count lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we have reached the 3rd measure. The count and the picking technique will be exactly the same as what was done in the 1st measure. The primary difference is that instead of using the 3rd finger on the G string at the 4th fret, we're going to flatten that note by using the middle finger on that same string at the 3rd fret instead. So the first 4 16th notes are going to sound like this. Notice how I picked that. On the and beat, the middle finger went to the G string at the 3rd fret. And on the beat, the last 16th note of that quarter, the 3rd finger tucked right underneath it on the B string at the same fret, and that was picked up. The next 4 notes, or 16th notes, counted 2 E and that's going to work off of the middle finger on the G string at the 3rd fret and the open G string itself like this. 2 E and With the 4 count lead in, this is what we have for the 3rd measure so far. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and 2 E and On 3, we're going to do exactly what we did in the 1st measure. We're just fingering it and playing different notes. The middle finger will go on the D string at the 3rd fret. The 3rd finger will go on the G string at the 3rd fret. The pinky will go on the B string at the 3rd fret. Okay, we're going to play 4 more 16th notes. We'll sweep down for the first 3 E and on the beat we'll pick the G string upwards. We're going to let this ring out through 4, just like the previous measure, and we're going to end it by picking the chord upwards twice. Okay, the first will be on E, that rings out as an 8th, and the last one is the last 16th, the beat. So with the 4 count lead in, here's what the 3rd measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a E a. The fourth measure is going to be an exact repeat of the second measure, so there's no need to cover it. With a 4-count lead in, let's run through the first 4 measures in sequence just one time. I'm not going to count this as I play. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth and sixth measures are going to be exact repeats of the first and second measures. So let's skip ahead to the seventh measure. The seventh measure will be played almost exactly like the third measure. The only difference will be the 4/16 notes right on the 2 beat. In the third measure, we played those like this. 2 E and a. On the seventh measure, we're going to play 3 notes there instead. The first 2 are 16ths, and the last is an 8th. We'll start out the same way with the middle finger on the G string at the 3rd fret. We'll pick this down on 2, followed by the open string picked upwards on E. And here's where it differs. On the and beat, we'll pick that open string down and let it ring out as the 8th note. So with the 4-count lead in, this is what the 7th measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and 3 and a E a. And now we have reached the 8th measure. We're going to begin this measure much like we did the 2nd, 4th, and 6th measures. We're going to do the downward sweeping motion with the right hand as we play the first 3 notes, 1 E and, just like this, 1 E and. Then we're going to let those notes ring out, and we're going to sweep upwards in motion with that right hand as we do the next 3 notes. 2 E and, just like this, 2 E and. We're going to add an extra 16th note, the A beat, by going back down and picking the B string on the 1st fret, just like that. So with a 4-count lead in, this is what we have for the first half of the last measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and 2 E and a. Now we're going to play 2 quarter notes to close this out. They'll be picked on 3 and 4, both with downward motions. The first of these will be with the 3rd finger on the G string at the 3rd fret, and the pinky will be on the B string at the 3rd fret. Okay, and the next chord, these are double stops by the way, which means 2 notes ringing. We're going to put the 1st finger on the B string at the 1st fret, and the middle finger on the G string at the 2nd fret. So with a 4-count lead in, this is what the 8th measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and 2 E and a 3, 4. Let's run through the 7th and 8th measures in sequence just one time. I won't count these aloud as I play. I'm just going to give you the 4-count lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's run through the entire bridge just one time. I won't count aloud as I play. I'll just give you the 4-count lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4. What we have here only appears to be 6 measures, but in actuality it's 8. What we're going to do is play through the first 4 measures. And we'll come to the repeat sign that's highlighted in blue at the end of the 4th measure. That will send you back to the beginning of the 1st measure where the other repeat sign is. Think of these as bookends. On the second pass through, we'll play the first 2 measures, which will now be the 5th and 6th measures. And we'll skip down to what looks like the 5th and 6th measures. That's actually the 7th and 8th measures. Okay, you'll notice above the 3rd and 4th measures that there's a number 1 and a bar across both measures. That's the first ending. And across the top of the 5th and 6th measures, you'll notice another bar that says 2. That's the second ending. Guitar 2 is going to follow a 2 measure long riff pattern that will be played 4 times. We'll start out playing a G5 power chord where the root note is the first finger on the low E string at the 3rd fret. The first 5 notes are going to be 16th notes counted 1 E and a 2, and use alternate picking just like this. 1 E and a 2. Then we're going to have an 8th note rest. On the final 16th note right after 2, we'll pick this chord again upwards. On 3, we're going to shift down a full step in pitch, so the first finger is the root note on the low E string at the 1st fret. We're going to play this chord 3 times as 16th notes, counted 3 E and, pick down, up, down. Then we're going to have a 16th note rest on which is the final 16th beat of that quarter. With the 4 count lead in, this is what the first measure sounds like so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 E and a 2, a 3 E and. Okay, we're going to have another 16th note rest on 4, and we'll close up this measure by picking this F5 power chord 2 more times. We'll pick it up on E, which is the 16th right after 4, and let this ring out as an 8th note. We'll pick it again on which is the final 16th of that quarter and the measure. Okay, this last 16th we picked that up. So with the 4 count lead in, this is what the first measure is going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 E and a 2, a 3 and E, And now we have reached the second measure. We're going to begin by playing an open E5 power chord. And that's where we take the first finger and bar the A and D strings at the 2nd fret. And we're going to lay that finger across the higher pitch strings just to deaden them out so they don't ring accidentally. The first 5 notes of this measure are going to be played exactly the way we played the previous measure. 5 16th notes counted 1 E and a 2, just like this. 1 E and a 2. Then we have the same 8th note rest on which is the final 16th note right after 2. We're going to shift up in position so the first finger is on the A string at the 5th fret, and this will be a D5 power chord. Okay, we're going to play this by picking it upwards just for 1 beat on that beat. On 3, we're going to shift up a half a step in pitch, so the first finger is now on the A string at the 6th fret. We're going to play 4 16th notes counted 3 and a, pick, down, up, down, up. And to finish up the second measure, we're going to shift back down in pitch a half a step, so that first finger is on the A string at the 5th fret again, the D5 power chord. We're going to play 4 more 16th notes counted 4 E and a, pick, down, up, down, up. So with the 4 count lead in, this is what the second measure is going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 E and a 2, a 3 and a 4 E and a. On the 4th pass through, which will be the 8th measure, we're going to modify that second measure of the riff pattern slightly. We're going to start out the same way by playing the open E5 power chord with alternate picking in the 5 16th notes counted 1 E and a 2. What we're going to do is after we hit 2, we're going to let that sustain out as a dotted eighth note. Okay, and on the beat, we're going to go to the D5 power chord exactly the way we have been. We'll pick this up for 1/16th note beat. Where this is going to really differ is the last half of this measure. On 3, we're going to go up a half a step in pitch to the same chord we were playing, but instead of playing 16th notes, we're just going to pick it downwards and let it ring out as a quarter note. And to close up the measure, we're going to shift back down a half a step in pitch to the D5 power chord and do the same thing. Just pick it down one time and let it ring out as a quarter note. With a 4-count lead in, this is what the 8th measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2, a 3, 4. Let's run through all 8 measures in sequence just one time. I won't count aloud as I play. I'll just give you the 4-count lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4. What we have here appears to be only 3 measures, but again, it's 8 measures. We'll play through the first 2 measures till you reach the repeat sign highlighted in yellow at the end of the second measure. That'll send you back to the beginning of the first measure. And notice the highlighted 1 to 3 above the second measure. That means that's the first through third endings. We'll play through this progression 3 times. On the 4th pass through, we'll play the first measure, and we'll skip directly to the 4th ending, which is the 3rd measure below with the number 4 highlighted. The bass guitar is pretty much going to double guitar 2 note for note. The only difference is guitar 2 is playing power chords, and we're just going to play the root note of those chords. If you're using a pick, the count and the picking motion will be exactly the same. With the 4-count lead in, let's just run through the bass part one time. I won't count this aloud as I play. 1, 2, 3, 4. The secondary bridge will appear twice in the song. The first occurrence will be at 2 minutes and 42 seconds, and the second will be at 4 minutes and 4 seconds.